Talk Studio. Great to see you guys again this week. And of course, very interesting candidate today, William Ruto. Paul, let me begin with you. Give us an overview of this politician.
First, I would say, among the G7 group, I think William Ruto is the most talented politically of them all. He is the most energetic. He's the one guy who we have seen all over the country. He can move from one place to another very fast. He is, I think, the most youthful, apart from Eugene, he's the most youthful of them all. He has very good political intuition. I think he's able to read and analyze political situations better than many other people.
Very savvy, very politically savvy.
Yes, he's very politically savvy. And then he's very strategic. He knows how, he has tact, and he knows how he can organize a strategy within the political game that he's playing. And people say his tongue drips with honey. He knows how to
speak.
He knows how to speak. On a one-to-one, he's a good negotiator. He can convince people into alliances very, very easily.
Okay, so pros and cons. David, let's start with the pros.
I think, as Paul has said, he is an energetic politician. He's smart. And he's very daring. I mean, he'll do things that very few politicians will do. I wonder why he has not quit ODM to just get into UDM. That would have actually demonstrated how far he can go. He has, the means to move, apparently. Where and how he got that is an issue for discussion, but certainly he has capacity to...
The finance, you're saying.
Yeah, the finances and the networks that can take him to places locally, mainly. I think internationally, yet not yet.
Okay.
I think one of the things we have to observe, where he has taken himself from politically and what he has been able to do shows that he's very ambitious and he has a capacity to achieve his ambitions. He was able in 2007 to destroy within less than a year what Moi had been building for 50 years. And within 1 year of Ruto getting into the Rift Valley politics, nobody talked about Moi anymore. He was able to annihilate him. And I think that shows his potential as a politician.
Okay.
Yeah, but he's still, although he has all these things going for him.
We are on the cons now. Are we? Okay,
the
jump in.
Which seem to be
Jump
quite
in.
heavy. He has come from very far to where he is, as he says. But then when you look at how far on the road he has traveled, there are quite a few question marks about Ruto's career. In terms of his past membership in KANU and the role he played. I mean, going back into the Youth for KANU and then the last years of Moi in power before he settled on Uhuru. The role that Ruto played there, even though later on he joined the ODM and therefore became a reformer, he still has that baggage that, he has a KANU history with him. And even when he speaks, a lot of people are not trusting what he's saying. They think it's lip service to things, so that he may not believe it. And there are a couple of questions about his, since he parted from ODM, how he has presented himself. Does he believe in reform? Does he believe in the rule of law? Is he somebody who can be trusted with this country's leadership? There are still questions around those. I
mean, he calls himself a hustler.
Hustler, yes.
So
how does
the word
he
hustler itself denotes quite a thing.
It's a wrong word for him to describe it, because hustler brings connotations of a lack of ethics. It's getting what you want without regard to any ethics.
Yes.
Just purely getting it.
And we may have a lot of hustlers at grassroots level, people trying to survive and get by day. Do we want a hustler president?
I see Ruto having two major problems. One, his past. And the YK 92 past that David has talked about. And I believe, looking at Ruto and from his past up to today, I don't think he has any democratic credentials, even pretended ones. There is nothing he says that shows any reform regarding to law, any reform regarding to human rights, any respect for, any democratic, principles. And already what he's going through with UDM is beginning to bring that also into focus. And I think UDM might expose that lack of democratic credentials. The other problem with his past is that he has really not kept at least a clean nose. His name is always every other day associated with something that is scandalous. And that comes again from his past in the YK. In respect of his presidency, his presidency has become too much about him. He's not telling us about the people, that I am going to be president for you.
About the policies, about the,
yes.
you know, his
in
priorities.
fact, in his own words, he says first his candidature is about him being president. And if he is not going to be president, then his candidature is about Raila not becoming president. So Kenyans are coming away third in his list of reasons why he wants to be president. And he has said it himself. He said, I do not know whether I'll be president, but I know who will not be. And I think that is going, as we get into the real politics, that's going to eat him up, because people want to identify with a reason why you want to be president.
Yes, and as the poll has said, you know, he has projected himself as extremely and passionately opposed to Raila. That's how he has carried out his campaign, which might actually not help his campaign.
Some of the SMSs that have come in are mentioning, you know, it all seems to be about Raila.
Yeah.
But one very interesting thing that was mentioned in that feature piece in his interview, and he was asked about implementing the constitution that he did not support. Yes. And he said the people who voted yes based on the fact that they could amend it later.
Yes.
Which is, amend what? You know, are we in agreement?
I think that's why I'm coming again to the issue of the lack of democratic credentials.
Yeah.
Because people will remember that at a time when the whole country needed to get rid of this constitutional thing, he stood up against the passage of the constitution. But another thing I want to add also is Ruto's politics, again coming to his past, is still based on a lot of that Kanu regional ethnic kind of balancing. And there are people who believe that the whole G7 strategy was about 7 provinces coming together against one. And that's a game, again, based on regionalism that's played.
And that is almost similar to what ODM was, we are told, was pushing, which was all the tribes against one tribe. At one point, we're told that was the...
Yeah, and I think this is a reformed way, because this would be 7 provinces against
true. I mean,
province.
the whole G7 philosophy and foundation is modeled along the lines of the ODM, which went into 2007. Almost, you know, pick people from this region, from that region, and put them together, and hoping they hang together, then they can be a formidable force. The trouble is that this particular one, the foundations are very, very weak, because each of the candidates is very ambitious. They see this as an opportunity to get there, and none is willing to drop for the other. If that doesn't happen, they don't hang together, G7, Ruto as a person going into the presidential race would perform very disastrously.
I was coming to that, so we want your vote in a moment. Just before you give us your vote out of 10, the usual, do tell us, just looking at him along the G7, the other candidates of the G7, and the other people who have declared their candidacy, looking at him in line with the politics of the day, what would you rate? Let me begin with Paul.
Okay, Paul. First, I think Ruto's candidature has climaxed, or is likely to climax very soon. And from here henceforth, it's going to be downhill for him. He's going to suffer burnout. He started too early. He came in too forcefully. I don't see where he can take his campaign beyond where he is now. So I anticipate that coming next year, he's going to start going down. And to me,
with all the energy that you have both said that he has,
he's burning out.
He's burning out.
What else is he going to do in the next 12 months?
What else can he say? What is he going to do? And in my estimation, I don't see him doing better than 2. I would give him 2. Yes.
Let me just say this. I think Ruto has realized, perhaps consciously, even in his campaign, that he is not going to get the presidency this time round unless he gets the blessings of the others. And therefore, his strategy is to get as many seats on whichever party he'll be running into the House, from which then he can begin. So he's looking at filling in the counties according to the constitutional requirement, and many seats that will enable him either to be the majority leader in the House or to actually deal.
Have the bargaining power.
Yeah, to be a kingmaker. Okay. After being a spoiler, be the kingmaker. You know.
Give us your vote.
I think that if he's not backed by the others, 3 out of 10.
Is he likely to be backed by the others in your opinion?
Very unlikely. Very unlikely.
So you're giving him a 3, which is better than Paul's 2. So I will give you the result that we've had so far, and we will give you the other result, the final result at the end. Just very quickly before I do that, doctors on strike. Midnight tonight. Can you just give us a word or two about the impact of this huge, it would have huge repercussions, David?
I think one wants to appreciate the needs of the doctors and their demands. I think they're legitimate. There's a lot of disproportionate remuneration in this country, and doctors must be valued for the service they provide.
Right.
As to the timing, I think it's tragic, really, considering so much in the air, the war, the what. I mean, we just had lecturers demanding government excusing itself on the war against the Shabab, and then doctors. Maybe the government needs to come out and give them a particular promise and push this forward so they don't go on strike now.
Thank you, Paul.
My worry is, as I said, the lecturers were on strike the other day. They were promised money. The nurses threatened to go on strike. They were promised money. Then the doctors are going on strike. They have to be promised money. I'm worried where this is going to go, and whether eventually we are going to afford all these increments that everybody is demanding.
Can we afford not to pay all these people?
Unfortunately, because it's the doctors, we can't afford not to pay.
They have to be paid.
You know,
But
so
I think we must look at the larger picture and find out. We'll deal with the doctors now. Somebody else is going to go on strike. Then what is going to happen? I think somebody needs to look at the bigger picture of these demands.
Planning. What is planning doing? What is the Ministry of Planning doing? But yes, now I promised you the vote that we have so far is 48% yes and 52% no. That is the vote on the question, would you vote for William Ruto as president? Keep your thoughts coming in. The SMS number is 2442. And of course, we'll have the final result for you. Your thoughts on that?
That's better than I expect.
Oh, and
Much better.
much better.
Yeah,
interesting SMSs coming in that I had said earlier. Thank you so much for joining us. We're rushing now back to the news studio. Do stay with Sunday Live. So much more on the way. Stay with us.